Hello friends, in this lecture we'll be discussing about diabetic and hypertensive retinopathy. So what is diabetic retinopathy? It's a microangiopathy caused by chronic hyperglycemia affecting the retinal precapillary arterioles, capillaries and venules. Risk of diabetic retinopathy is higher in patients with type 1, that is insulin dependent diabetes mellitus. So what are the risk factors for the development of diabetic retinopathy? These are duration of diabetes, which is the most important risk factor, then poor glycemic control, accompanying factors such as hypertension, smoking, poor renal status, obesity and hyperlipidemia also play a role, and pregnancy, as there can be worsening of the diabetic retinopathy in pregnancy. Now, what is the pathogenesis of diabetic retinopathy? So there are three main mechanisms. One is activation of protein kinase C because of chronic hyperglycemia, then oxidative stress and increased production of vascular endothelial growth factor or VEGF-A or TGF beta or insulin-like growth factors. Now, what are the clinical features of diabetic retinopathy? So these are microaneurysms, dot and blot hemorrhages, which are deep hemorrhages, then hard exudates, macular edema, retinal non-perfusion, which is seen on the fundus fluorescein angiography, intraretinal microvascular abnormalities or IRMA, then venous beading, then neovascularization, mainly in cases of proliferative diabetic retinopathy, then fibrovascular proliferation into the vitreous, subhyaloid hemorrhage and tractional RD or tractional retinal detachment, again in cases of proliferative diabetic retinopathy. How do you classify diabetic retinopathy? So it is mainly classified into non-proliferative diabetic retinopathy and proliferative diabetic retinopathy. So non-proliferative diabetic retinopathy or NPDR is again classified into mild, moderate and severe. So what is mild NPDR? It is when presence of at least one microaneurysm. What is moderate non-proliferative diabetic retinopathy? So the presence of hemorrhages, microaneurysm, hard and soft exudates, venous beading and IRMA less than that of the severe NPDR. And what is severe NPDR? It is hemorrhages and microaneurysms in all four quadrants, venous beading in at least two quadrants, and IRMA, that is intraretinal microvascular abnormalities in at least one quadrant, is classified into severe non-proliferative diabetic retinopathy. Now, what is proliferative diabetic retinopathy? The hallmark of proliferative diabetic retinopathy or PDR is the occurrence of neovascularization. So, either it can be NVD or neovascularization at disc or NVE, that is neovascularization elsewhere. Neovascularization at disc is, when do you call it NVD? When there is neovascularization on or within 1 disc diameter of the optic nerve head. And when do you call it neovascularization elsewhere? When the neovascularization is farther than 1 disc diameter. The complications of proliferative diabetic retinopathy can be vitreous hemorrhage, fibrovascular proliferation, tractional RD and neovascular glaucoma. Now, what is clinically significant macular edema or CSME? It is, we call the macular edema as clinically significant macular edema when there is retinal edema or thickening at or within 500 microns of the center of fovea, hard exudates at or within 500 microns of the center of fovea with adjacent retinal thickening of 1 disc diameter or larger, a part of which is within 1 disc diameter of the center of fovea. So these are the three factors or three categories when you call it as clinically significant macular edema. Visual acuity is not part of definition of CSME and it can occur at any stage of diabetic retinopathy. So I'll repeat this again. So CSME is labeled when there is retinal edema within 500 microns of the center of fovea. There are hard exudates within 500 microns of the center of fovea with adjacent retinal edema, and there is retinal edema of 1 disc diameter or larger, a part of which is within 1 disc diameter of the center of fovea. The other ocular manifestations of diabetes are cataract, which is mainly snowflake or snowstorm cataract, then myopia when there is sudden increase in the blood sugar, and cranial nerve palsies. Third cranial nerve is the most common cranial nerve palsy. Even the 4th, 6th and 7th cranial nerve can also be involved. Now, what are the causes of vision loss in diabetic retinopathy? So these are macular edema, which is the most common cause of visual loss in diabetic retinopathy, then vitreous hemorrhage and tractional retinal detachment. How do you treat diabetic retinopathy? So treatment is mainly by strict glycemic control and control of associated hypertension and renal disease. Then anti-VEGF or anti-vascular endothelial growth factor such as bevacizumab, ranibizumab and aflibercept. Then antioxidants and laser photocoagulation, which is the mainstay of treatment. So laser photocoagulation can be in the form of focal and grid laser for macular edema and pan-retinal photocoagulation for proliferative diabetic retinopathy. This laser photocoagulation is done with argon laser or double frequency ND-arc laser or diode laser. Parasplana vitrectomy and endophotocoagulation is reserved for non-resolving vitreous hemorrhage and tractional retinal detachment. So the surgical treatment is mainly in cases of non-resolving vitreous hemorrhage and tractional RD, and the surgical treatment is in the form of parasplana vitrectomy and endophotocoagulation. Now, American Academy of Ophthalmology has recommended screening for diabetic retinopathy 5 years after the diagnosis in patients with type 1 diabetes and at the time of diagnosis in patients with type 2 diabetes. There is a yearly screening when there is a mild diabetic retinopathy. Again, yearly screening is advised. When there is moderate diabetic retinopathy, every 6 monthly screening is advised, and in cases of severe non-proliferative diabetic retinopathy, screening is advised every 2 to 3 months. Now, hypertensive retinopathy. What is hypertensive retinopathy? When retinal changes in cases of chronic hypertension. So the features are focal attenuation of major retinal arterioles is one of the earliest signs. Focal attenuation of major retinal arterioles. Then diffuse or generalized arteriolar attenuation, broadening of arteriolar light reflex and arteriovenous crossing changes may also occur. These are the other features. Arteriovenous crossing changes can be in the form of Bonnet sign or banking of veins, can be in the form of Salus sign or S-shaped deflection of the veins. Let's discuss few questions now. Question 1. All of the following take part in the pathogenesis of macular edema in diabetic retinopathy except. And the options are A. RPE dysfunction, B. Oxidative stress, C. VEGF or vascular endothelial growth factor release, and D. Increased protein kinase C. So what is the correct answer? Correct answer is A. RPE dysfunction. There is no retinal pigment epithelium dysfunction in diabetic retinopathy, while the other causes such as oxidative stress, VEGF release and increased protein kinase C play a role in the pathogenesis of macular edema. First retinal abnormality in diabetic retinopathy is, first retinal abnormality. Options are A. Hard exudates, B. Soft exudates, C. Cotton wool spots, and D. Microaneurysm. So what is the first retinal abnormality? D. Microaneurysm. One of the following is not a sign of diabetic retinopathy. One of the following is not a sign of diabetic retinopathy. The options are A. Microaneurysm, B. Cotton wool spot, C. Hard exudates, and D. Choroidal neovascularization. So what is the correct option? Correct answer is D. Choroidal neovascularization. Choroidal neovascularization is seen in cases of age-related macular degeneration, but not in cases of diabetic retinopathy. While microaneurysm, cotton wool spots, hard exudates are all seen in diabetic retinopathy. Next question. Commonest cause of visual loss. Commonest cause of loss of vision in non-proliferative diabetic retinopathy is. Options are A. Vitreous hemorrhage, B. Macular edema, C. Retinal detachment, and D. Subretinal hemorrhage. So the commonest cause of loss of vision in cases of NPDR is B. Macular edema. While vitreous hemorrhage, retinal detachment, subretinal hemorrhage are mainly seen in proliferative diabetic retinopathy. Now next question is, pan-retinal photocoagulation is indicated in. Pan-retinal photocoagulation is indicated in. Options are A. Macular edema, B. Retinal breaks, C. Proliferative diabetic retinopathy, and D. Tractional RD. So what is the correct answer? Correct answer is C. Proliferative diabetic retinopathy. Next question. A 35-year-old patient with history of recurrent headache was sent for fundus evaluation. He was found to be having generalized arteriolar attenuation with multiple cotton wool spots and flame-shaped hemorrhages in both eyes. Most likely cause is option A diabetic retinopathy, option B hypertensive retinopathy, option C CRAO, and option D temporal arteritis. So what is the correct answer? Correct answer here is hypertensive retinopathy, since there is generalized arteriolar attenuation with multiple cotton wool spots and flame-shaped hemorrhages mostly favor the diagnosis of hypertensive retinopathy. In diabetic retinopathy, there won't be generalized arteriolar attenuation, while in central retinal artery occlusion or CRAO, you won't see multiple cotton wool spots and flame-shaped hemorrhages, and there will be cherry red spot in CRAO, while in temporal arteritis there is acute ischemic optic neuropathy. Thank you so much. I hope you understood diabetic and hypertensive retinopathy well.